jump right in. We're going to talk about something that, so many companies deal with, but it kind of flies under the radar. I'm talking about the hidden risks in how we track employee safety certifications. It sounds pretty straightforward, right? But believe me, the way most people do it, well, it's a minefield.
So let me ask you a question. And hey, be honest. Does this sea of emails and spreadsheets, does it look a little too familiar? For a ton of environmental, health, and safety teams out there, the answer is a big, fat yes. And this isn't just some abstract idea. It's the day-to-day grind for people just trying to keep their coworkers safe and the company compliant. All right, so let's actually unpack what this whole paper chase really means. I want to walk you through the manual workflow that, honestly, way too many companies are still stuck with. You're going to see real quick where the whole thing starts to fall apart.
So it all kicks off the second those certificates start coming in. But here's the thing. There's no system. It's pure chaos. You've got certs coming in through dozens of different emails, they're getting tossed into who knows what shared folder, and they're in every possible format you can imagine. PDF, JPEG, a photo from a phone. It's a total mess right from the get-go.
And from that digital pile of chaos, some poor administrator has to start this incredibly tedious cycle. For every single certificate, they have to first manually check if it's even valid. Then they log into the HR system. Then they log into the EHS system. Then they search for the employee's record. Then they manually type in all the training data, then upload the file. And just when you think you're done, they have to update a completely separate compliance spreadsheet. I mean, just think about how repetitive and mind-numbing that is. Every single step is just begging for a human error. You see, this whole process isn't just slow and inefficient. It's actually dangerous for the business. This is where we start to see the cracks in that manual foundation really begin to show. I mean, just think back to all those manual steps we just laid out. With that much data entry, day in and day out, it's not a question of if a mistake is going to happen, but when. And it can be something so tiny. But the fallout? It's anything but tiny. One wrong date entered, one name misspelled, one document filed in the wrong place, and bam! A critical employee is suddenly flagged as non-compliant. They can't get onto the job site, and your entire project can just grind to a dead halt. And this right here really gets to the absolute core of the problem. One source we looked at put it perfectly. The system leads to, quote, employees appearing non-compliant even when training was completed. Just let that sink in for a second. Your people did the right thing, they got the training, they are qualified, but your system, your records, say they're not. That is a fundamental breakdown of the process. What this all adds up to is something called a visibility gap, and it's a huge problem. Because all this critical compliance data is locked away in random inboxes and scattered spreadsheets, the people in charge, the leaders, they have no way of getting a real-time, accurate picture of where things stand. They're basically flying blind, hoping for the best. Okay, so we've talked about the tiny errors and that huge visibility gap. But what's the real cost here? The big picture strategic cost. Let's zoom out and look at how this risk just keeps growing and what you're actually losing because of it.
And this is so important to understand. The risk here isn't linear. It doesn't just add up, it compounds. As the source material points out, the more employees you have, the more certifications you're trying to track, the chances of a catastrophic error just grow exponentially. What might be a small headache with 100 employees becomes a full-blown corporate liability when you have 1,000 or more.
And this, right here, this is the real tragedy, the opportunity cost. Just look at this breakdown of how EHS teams spend their time. You've got these highly trained, highly skilled safety professionals, and they're spending the lion's share of their time on paperwork. They're buried in administrative tasks instead of doing the one thing they were hired to do, make the workplace safer. I mean, this contrast really says it all, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the world created by the manual process. It's totally reactive, it's focused on paperwork and data entry. And on the other side, that's where EHS teams want to be. That's the ideal state, proactive, focused on people, and actually building a real, lasting safety culture. The gap between those two is massive.
So the big question is, how do you get from one side to the other? How do we bridge that gap? Well, it really takes a whole new way of thinking. It's about reframing the entire purpose of what environmental, health, and safety is all about.
And this is probably the biggest takeaway from our entire discussion today. The number one threat to your compliance isn't a bad policy. Your policies could be absolutely perfect, ironclad. But if the process you use to execute and track them is fragile and manual, you're still completely exposed. The problem isn't the rules, it's how you play the game.
Which really leaves us with one final question to think about. Just imagine for a moment. What could your team of safety experts really achieve if they were finally set free from chasing paperwork? What new programs could they create? What injuries could they prevent? What could your company's safety culture truly become?